Lux is a former prince who destroys his country after his parents are assassinated and hides in an all-girls academy. However, when he uses his powers to save the enemy princess who's built like an OnlyFans model, every freaky shotty in the academy falls for his big black sword and gets desperate to duel with him under the sheets. It all starts when Lux is doing an odd job but falls into the women's bath, right on top of a hot blonde named Leisha, the princess of the new empire, who freaks out that he tapped her royal buns. At this, Lux gets locked up and is visited by a girl named Lucifer, who asks about his sword, but Lux avoids eye contact as if he's hiding something. Soon after, he is taken to Headmaster R'lyeh, who agrees to look past this incident because she's known him for a long time. In exchange, she wants Lux to work here to help train the girls to be better drag knights and get some piping as a bonus. Just then, Leisha barges into the office with the other girls and disapproves of Lux working here. R'lyeh has no choice but to let Leisha decide a punishment for him, so without hesitation, she challenges him to a duel. If he loses, he will go back to jail, but if he wins, she'll let him join the academy. Later, Lux gets an earful from his sister Yuri and her roommate Nakuto for causing trouble. Being royalty of the former empire, they are labeled criminals by the new empire, and now they have to pay a large sum of debt for a royal pardon. However, by acting like a desperate virgin around the girls, Lux is not helping their case. Lux asks them about Leisha, and Nakuto tells him that she is undefeated, but she is confident because Lux is also undefeated. Later, he heads to a coliseum for his duel and summons his average-looking wyvern, compared to Leisha's god-tier ride. Once the duel begins, Leisha starts attacking immediately and manages to land a hit on Lux. But strangely, he asks her if she can let it slide in case the match ends in a draw. This upsets Leisha even more, and she decides to pull out her special skill, which proves to be so strong that it destroys the barrier around the arena. After the barrier is redeployed, Leisha starts to get a little frustrated because Lux is expertly dodging her attacks and not even attacking her back. She activates her gravity-controlling divine ability and uses it to slam Lux straight into the ground. However, by using both the special skill and the divine skill at the same time, she ends up exhausting herself. Just as she's about to lose control of her drag ride, a strange presence is felt in the arena, and the barrier disappears again. Soon after, a gargoyle monster shows up and stirs panic among the crowd. Sheris and Tilford try to maintain control and evacuate everyone, but the gargoyle targets Leisha directly. Luckily, Lux steps up to block the attack and starts fighting the monster with his generic ride, much to everyone's shock. As Lux baits the monster outside the arena, he tells Leisha to recover fast and target it from the ground. She decides to put her trust in him and attacks when signaled, and by working together, they manage to take down the gargoyle. After the battle ends, she cools herself off in the shower and slaps her kitty, thinking about how Lux was able to handle such a strong monster with a weak drag knight. Meanwhile, Lux is feeling the effects of gunning 5 times in a row when Leisha shows up to take care of him. As they talk, they manage to get over their differences. She then tells him that she didn't want him to work here because he saw her whole package in the bath. Lux believes she's talking about her divine cookie, when in reality, she's talking about the former empire's crest tattooed on her body. After Lux promises not to tell anyone, she asks why he didn't use his black sword on her, and he says he wants to get to know her better first. Before leaving, she officially welcomes him into the academy and hopes they can get along before leaving him for the day. The next day, Lux is introduced as the new student in his class, and the girls gossip that he must be packing at least 8 inches. While he carries the weight of having extra inches, he passes by a pink-haired baddie with juicy watermelons and recognizes her as the headmaster's sister Filthy. He is surprised to see her after 7 years, and as he gets seated next to her, Leisha starts to feel a little jealous. Lux asks Filthy to share her book, but she refuses to talk to him unless he calls her by her nickname Phi. However, this makes Leisha even more upset as she goes from wanting to gut him to wanting him to rearrange her guts in just 1 episode. After class, Lux gets swarmed by all the pick-me hoes who all want him to do odd jobs. Luckily, Tilfer arrives and explains that they will have to fill out an application if they wish to assign jobs to Lux. Amid the chaos, Leisha approaches Lux and hesitantly says that she also has a job for him, and it is to become his exclusive caretaker and assistant. The entire class goes into shock, so Filthy stands up and asks Leisha to stay away from Lux, because he's troublesome. Leisha tries to bribe her with a cookie, and even after taking the bribe, she keeps her stance. That's when Lucifer steps in and informs her that the headmaster wants to see Lux right now. Lux immediately follows her outside, where she asks him about the Black Hero, the mysterious lone drag knight who drove the entire former empire to destruction. The mood suddenly shifts, and Lucifer asks Lux to look for the Black Hero as she has some business with him. Lux goes into a flashback of his brother, Fugal, telling him that he'll have to destroy everything to save the kingdom. Lux understands what he has to do, but even then, he wishes to minimize the casualties. The next day, Lux wakes up in bed and is shocked to find Filthy sleeping next to him, with both her watermelons poking out of the screen. Before he can process it, Tilfer spots him inside, and it gets him another earful from Yuri later. He explains to her that he slept in his own room, but the headmaster had assigned Filthy as his roommate, which is why she was there too. He asked Raleigh to give him a separate room, but since there aren't any available, he will have to share one. After telling him to watch himself, Ayuri decides to leave, but when he suggests they have breakfast together, she subtly hints that she does not want to get used to having him around. Later, Lux heads to a barn for a job and finds Leisha sleeping on the floor. She wakes up and shows him that she fixed his wyvern, which was badly damaged by the gargoyle. She also informs him that he will be a part of the school's night squadron, a special unit consisting of the school's best cadets. She then hands him his sword and asks him to help her with their new empire, and Lux agrees to her request. Afterward, she takes him to the market so they can get to know each other better. She takes him to a fancy restaurant for lunch, but when Leisha realizes she forgot her purse at home, they end up having snacks from a local stall. While eating, Leisha suddenly feels the urge to get clapped. So Lux takes her on top of a bell tower to cool her off. He says he found this place when he was asked to clean it, but he liked it so much that he comes here often now. He then thanks Leisha for repairing his drag ride, complimenting her on her skill despite her age. He also tells her that she will be a great queen, but Leisha suddenly gets all serious and asks him how she can be a worthy queen when she has the crest of the former empire on her belly. Her father was part of the rebellion, and she was held hostage because of it. The crest on her body is a symbol that she was a prisoner, and her father was so focused on winning that he never bothered rescuing her. She believes her life is worthless and she does not deserve to be a queen, so the only reason she got the title of a princess is because her father died and she was the sole heir. That night, Lux dreams of when Feudal assassinated the entire royal family, even when Lux asked him to keep the deaths to a minimum. Feudal kept laughing like a maniac and thanked Lux, because of whom he didn't even have to use his flute. When Lux wakes up the next day, the bell starts ringing and the cadets are gathered in the barn, where they learn that a giant abyss monster was spotted in the southern ruins. By the time Lux arrives, Leisha and her squad are already preparing to leave, and he wishes them good luck on their mission. After they fly away, Lux shares his worries with Ayuri, explaining that 2 abyss monsters have shown up back to back, and it's not looking good. Soon after, as the knights battle the monster, they hear a strange noise, and it suddenly explodes. Back in the city, Lux joins Filthy, and she tells him that she just listened to a flute in the distance. After the explosion, the monster gives birth to dozens of gargoyles, and among them, a knight named Barth shows himself, revealing that he is the squadron chief of the old empire. Leisha asks if he's betraying the new empire, so he answers her question by using the flute and making the gargoyle attack her. Nakuto quickly returns and informs the others about the situation, so Lux offers to help. Ayuri reminds him that his wyvern is weak, and he can't even use his black sword, but he calmly tells her that he will not be alone this time. Meanwhile, Leisha is fighting the enemy all by herself because her squad's drag knights are all exhausted. Eventually, she gets slammed into the ground, and right after that, the old empire's rebel army comes to the surface. Lux is on his way and asks her to hold tight, but she tells him not to come because she has failed to protect her people and deserves to die. While she's sobbing, Barth approaches her and tears her shirt to reveal the old empire's crest, reminding her that he was the one who put it there. Enraged, Leisha throws her sword in his face and manages to leave a cut, but right before Barth gives her some equal rights and lefts, Lux arrives to rescue her. With determination in his voice, Lux tells Leisha that he also failed to protect his people 5 years ago, but he will not fail to protect her now so she can become the rightful queen. He then pushes Barth back and pulls out the black sword, summoning the legendary black hero Bahamut to his aid. As the sky turns red, Ayuri watches from the academy and realizes that his brother has finally decided to use the very thing that destroyed their empire. Within a few seconds, Lux takes complete control of the battlefield, and Barth fails to understand why the prince of the old empire is raising his sword against them. Lux ignores his nonsense and launches one big attack, and the next thing he knows, the entire rebel army is wiped out. 2 weeks later, the girls throw a full-fledged party for Lux, celebrating his newly acquired position in the Knight Squadron. Leisha approaches Lux to congratulate him, but when she starts fumbling with her words, Filthy beats her to it, much to Leisha's frustration. The headmaster then raises a toast, and everyone delves into the food and drinks. However, amid all the celebrations, there are a few keen eyes, including Sania, who are still not ready to accept him. Soon after, Raleigh introduces a competition between the girls to snatch a form from Lux, and whoever wins it will get to have him for a week. She then hands it to Lux and tells him that if he manages to keep it till the competition ends, he won't have to follow anyone's orders. Soon after, dozens of girls start chasing him around the school, so he decides to hide in Leisha's garage. After some time, she asks him about the Black Hero, telling him not to worry because everyone who knows has promised to keep it to themselves. She wants to know more about Bahamut so she can use it in her research, but while he's explaining how it works, she suddenly uses a drag knight to restrain him. Lux promises to give her the form if she lets him go, but as soon as she does, Lux runs off, making her feel like an idiot. While he is camping in a bush, Filthy finds him and says she was offered a cake by Raleigh in exchange for finding him. She tries to restrain him, but quickly gets distracted by the red form, allowing him to escape. With only 10 minutes left in the game, Lux hides in a room, but just seconds later, some girls enter, fretting over the fact that they could not catch him. Just then, one of them starts to undress, and he realizes that he is actually in the changing room. When Sania says he might be peeping on them, the others line up to defend him, saying he's proven himself to be more than just a diddler. While he's drowning in guilt, Crew Lucifer walks over to the bookshelf in her two-piece and spots him hiding behind the box. Lux believes he is done for, but Crew Lucifer does not tell the others, rather says she is going to skip training today. After others leave, she asks him to come out, and as the game has already ended, she asks him to show the form. But as soon as he hands it over, he hears the clock ring in the background. Crew Lucifer then says she gets to boss him around for a week, explaining that she had messed with the clock hand earlier to trick him. While Lux sulks in his misery, she leans down to him and tells him that she's in ovulation, so he's gonna be her daddy for the whole week. That night, Yuri tells him that whoever he's clapping is none of her business, but he shouldn't forget who he is. She then takes her to Ruli's office, where the headmaster shows them the flute she recovered from the battlefield. She believes Barth found it in the ruins and used it to control the Abyss monsters. Before she hands it to the Night Squadron for investigation, she wants to find out if it has some other purpose. Later, before Ayuri goes to her room, she tells Lux to be careful around his new girlfriend because not only is she royalty from a different country, she also seems to be hiding something. The following day, Lux and Crew Lucifer sit at a separate table from everyone else, which is awkward enough for him. She only makes it worse by saying she came to this country to find herself a man, in an all-girls academy. She then adds that she's trying to delay her marriage until her personal goal is achieved, so when a butler from her family visits in a few days, she wants Lux to pretend to be her boyfriend. Lux believes she should hire someone else for the job due to the abundance of men around her, but she calmly tells him not to back out, or she'll tell everyone he was peeping on girls in the changing room. That night, while Curlcifer explains what Lux is supposed to do, Leisha storms in with Filthy and Tilfer and demands to know why they are still up. Crew Lucifer says she was wrapping up homework and is about to leave, but Leisha steps in and proudly tells her that she's held Lux's hand to make her jealous. Feeling awkward, Crew Lucifer asks if holding hands is the new mating ritual in their empire, but Tilfer tells her that Leisha is just an idiot who's never had a man before. She asks Leisha if she knows what a kiss is, and Leisha starts panicking, saying people kiss when they want to repopulate the planet. Filthy tells everyone she has already kissed Lux, but the guy quickly covers her face so he does not get in trouble. The next day, Crew Lucifer locks arms with Lux as they walk on campus, unaware that Leisha and Filthy are following them like low-budget detectives. They head to a clothing store where Lux gets his measurements taken for a custom-made suit for the big day. Later, she proposes they get something to eat, but they keep walking for a while, and Lux starts to feel weird around her. Then suddenly, they are ambushed by the Old Empire's rebels, and while hostage, Crew Lucifer asks Lux to tackle the ones in front so she can summon her Drag Knight. Once the summoning is complete, she easily takes out the entire group of rebels, and soon after, Leisha comes out of hiding to explain that Crew Lucifer's Knight has the ability to predict the future. Lux asks why she's here, and she pretends that she was just passing by, but her disguise does not help her case. Just then, one of the rebels tries to escape, but is taken down by another girl, Alterize, who reveals herself to be Curlcifer's family butler. She joins everyone at the restaurant, where Crew Lucifer tells Alterize that Lux is her boyfriend, and he is also the prince of the Old Empire. Unexpectedly, Lord Balsride of the Four Great Nobles joins them, telling Alterize that he came here early to see his future wife. He then walks up to Crew Lucifer and introduces himself, but she boldly tells him that he's dating Lux. Balsride recognizes Lux as the former prince. But since Crew Lucifer speaks so highly of him, he challenges Lux to a duel to see who's packing more inches in the trunk. Crew Lucifer takes it one step further and offers a 2-on-2 duel, asking Balsride to pick Alterize as his partner. Balsride immediately agrees, and tells him to be ready in 3 days before leaving. The next day, Lux is yawning in class when Crew Lucifer arrives and thanks him for agreeing to duel Balsride. Lux worries they don't have enough time to prepare, so Crew Lucifer suggests he use his Black Hero ride. She is almost flattered at how much Lux is doing for her sake, but Lux tells her not to worry because he agreed to it himself. Just then, Leisha shows up and figures out that they are just pretending to be dating so Crew Lucifer can delay her marriage. Relieved, she tells Lux to use his full strength during the duel and leaves to strengthen his drag ride. Later, as the sleepyhead is walking through the halls without his fake girlfriend, Tilfer spots him all by himself and asks him to tag along. She drags him into a room where Leisha and Filthy greet him in hot maid outfits, and Tilfer explains they are going vacuum cleaner on his sausage to help him relax. While he takes a good look at their stress balls, Tilfer goes behind the dressing to change and explains that to help him feel better, they will simulate an environment that will remind him of the time he was a prince. Lux says he never had any maids back then, but that doesn't stop them from serving him. Leisha gets all sad and asks if he is disappointed. but Lux immediately tells her he's very happy, which brightens her mood. She hesitantly tells him that he's allowed to taste her forbidden fruit if he wants, because Tilfer told her that this job requires being bendy. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital, the four great nobles get together, where a man named Nauf explains that each ruin conceals a powerful abyss. These abysses are sealed by something called the Ragnarok Poseidon, but once these forces have been suppressed, it will try to awaken them. The other nobles are worried because they believe the new empire isn't strong enough to face a Ragnarok, but Nobel Warg suggests they let his son Balzeri De explore the ruins in search of a powerful weapon. That night, Relay calls a meeting with the cadets and shows them the flute, explaining that it is needed to enter the deepest parts of the ruins. After she hands it over to Lux, the guy notices Crew Lucifer standing at the door and wonders what she's doing here. He joins her outside and asks how she even got the permission to attend the meeting, so she tells him she merely called in a favor. Lux still doesn't understand why she's interested until she reveals that this mission might bring her closer to her goal. Later, while relaxing in the shower, Lux wonders what Crew Lucifer is after, but he suddenly looks to the side to see the anime version of Mia Khalifa in the pool with him. He asks her why she's here, only to learn that Raleigh purposely sent her here in hopes that she finally gets some action. Lux doesn't want any of it and decides to leave, but she asks him to stay, stating they haven't bathed together in a long time. Right after, Filthy starts sleeping in the pool, and Lux shakes her to wake her up. However, when he sees her jiggle physics in action, he immediately hides behind her. That's when he remembers she used to have a scar on her back, which is no longer there, but Filthy says she does not remember. The next day, the Kagats gather in the garage for their mission, but they learn that Balzeri De will be joining them in the investigation. Lisha is clearly not happy about it, but he calmly assures her he does not intend to interfere, though his real intentions are unclear. He adds that his future wife is among the cadets, so he's going to join to ensure her safety. Later, the cadets gather around the ruins, but before they can enter it, a monster called Diablos blocks their path. Lux explains that a Diablos is strong enough to destroy a whole city and immediately takes the front against it. However, his wyvern is no match for a monster of this caliber, so Balzeri De uses this opportunity to clown on Lux for being weak. As he continues to diss Lux, Crew Lucifer joins them, and she is so tired of Balzeri De's nonsense that she decides to fight the Diablos on her own. However, she also fails to take it down, so Balzeri De throws an axe towards the monster, which pierces its chest. Suddenly, its body begins to glow, and after it releases a big shockwave, Lux notices amid the chaos that Crew Lucifer is losing control of her drag ride. Soon after, the wave intensifies, and the ruins ignite a bright blow, causing Lux to go unconscious. He then dreams of the time when he lost control of his drag ride while trying out a new technique, and Fugel could not believe his eyes. At present, Lux wakes up and looks around, only for Crew Lucifer to inform him that they are now inside the ruins. As Lux gets back on his feet, they decide to head towards the altar that's located in the center. However, on the way, Crew Lucifer suddenly collapses from exhaustion, and even when Lux asks her to rest for a bit, she continues to push forward. Understanding her desperation, Lux carries her to the altar, and once they reach it, he asks her why she's looking for the Black Hero. She explains that, unlike other drag rides that have their limits, the Black Hero is said to be limitless, so she wants to know if that's really true, since they are the first ones to arrive. Lux pulls out the flute, wondering if it will let him go deeper, but the altar starts glowing after recognizing a different key. Crew Lucifer stands in the middle, revealing that she is not from this world, but rather a survivor of the ruins. A gate then appears in front of them, and Lux is shocked to learn the truth about her. As the altar begins falling apart, Lux drags Crew Lucifer into the next room, which appears to be a long tunnel with hundreds of capsules attached to the wall. Crew Lucifer reveals she was found in one of these capsules by his father, who was surveying these ruins at that time. She had no memory of her past and continued to live with her new family, but she quickly realized she was adopted because everyone treated her differently. She put great effort into her study and trained hard to become a strong knight, just so she could receive everyone's love. However, even when she received her own god-tier drag ride, her siblings still treated her like an outsider. Faced with no alternatives, she convinced herself that her parents were truly insane and that she was their rightful heir. However, upon seeing the capsules, she now knows that she originates from the ruins, yet she has no memories of what her life was like before she was pulled out, so Lux suggests they explore further. However, Crew Lucifer believes she might be a neglected middle child in this world as well, so she apologizes for dragging him along. Lux, however, has invested too much to end it without getting a sloppy toppy, so he reminds her that she's his girlfriend and he'll help her find her real family. Just then, Crew Lucifer chuckles and tells him that everything she just told him is a load of nonsense, which confuses him. She then asks why he is so empathetic towards everyone, and he says it's because he knows what it feels like to be abandoned. He explains how people just watched his parents die during the rebellion, and he started feeling resentment towards everyone. The only person who ever showed him kindness was Filthy, and because of her, Lux was able to let go of the hatred in his heart. He then promised himself that he would create an empire where his loved ones could live without suffering. Crew Lucifer wonders if he would have saved her if he were still the prince, but before he can answer, they see a drill digging through the wall. It turns out to be Lisha, who immediately asks Lux if she interrupted his bed-breaking ritual with Cru Lucifer. Later that evening, Lux gets another scolding from Ayuri, who tells him to be more careful with his actions. She then asks if the flute was able to open the ruins, but Lux says no and chooses to hide the truth about Cru Lucifer. She then makes him herbal tea so he can rest well and be prepared for his duel with Obliterated. In reality, Cru Lucifer told her everything and asked her to mix sleeping pills in the tea because she didn't want Lux to get caught up in her affairs. While Lux is dozing out, Cru Lucifer goes to the battle spot alone, and Obliterated absorbs power from Obliterated to fight her. As the battle begins, Obliterated starts toying with Cru Lucifer and easily manages to knock her down, reminding her that this is the only time he'll pound her. In that moment, Cru Lucifer realizes that Obliterated sent those kidnappers after her and even joined them at the ruins so he could observe her abilities and defeat her easily. He even went as far as to drain Obliterated so she doesn't find out about his plans. And it was all done because he knew from the start that Cru Lucifer was the key to opening the ruins. Obliterated proudly tells her that even if she knows the truth, no one in this world can save him. But just then, he senses a strong presence coming his way. Soon after, Cru Lucifer looks up and sees Lux in his black hero drag ride. Obliterated calls him foolish for revealing his identity just to get some sloppy toppy, but Lux ignores him and launches an attack. After his attack is repelled, Lux realizes that Obliterated has the ability to steal powers, and he's currently using the future scene power he stole from Cru Lucifer. The more he uses it, the more Cru Lucifer gets drained, which explains why she was exhausted during the fight with the Diablos. Obliterated confirms that all of this is true and immediately attacks a defenseless Cru Lucifer. When Lux rushes to save her, Obliterated touches him and steals his powers too, leaving Lux in a difficult position. Cru Lucifer does not understand why he's fighting for her even when there's nothing to gain from it, and Ayuri lets her know that he's just a stubborn idiot who would not listen to reason right now. As the fight continues, Obliterated explains that he has to fight the Ragnarok, and he's prepared to sacrifice one girl to save the whole empire. As Lux slowly loses control of the Black Hero, Cru Lucifer asks him to stop fighting for her, but her tears only make him more determined as he promises to keep fighting for her lover. Obliterated is confident he can't do anything because he's losing control, but Lux uses that to his advantage and lets his drag ride go on a rampage. After obliterating Obliterated, he checks up on Cru Lucifer and takes her back to the academy. A few days later, while Lisha and Tilfer are waiting outside a cafe, Lux learns that because he defeated Obliterated, Cru Lucifer's parents have approved their relationship, and he's now her official fiancé. Lux has a lot to say in this regard, but Obliterated says her piece and leaves them be. Lux then reminds Cru Lucifer that they were merely acting, but she points out that he admitted to loving her during the duel, which makes him blush. When Lux says it was just in the heat of the moment, she says she does not like indecisive men, but he's got that dog in him, which makes her loins burn. She then locks him into a deep kiss, and Lisha, who's watching from the window, completely freaks out. Cru Lucifer then places her hand on Lux's cheek, telling him that this was just a teaser and he should marry her if he wants to unlock her complete package. Right after, Lisha barges in, clearly not happy about the fact that Lux just got himself a freaky bed monster. A few days later, a shy student tries to sneak out of the dorms at night, but Professor Regri catches her in the act and warns her about a stalker lurking in the night. She then asks the girl if she's the new transfer student, and after she says yes, Regri asks her to be careful. After she walks away, the girl reveals himself to be Lux, who is frustrated that no one has noticed him. Earlier that day, Lux was in his room with the Triad Squad, where Sheris informed him that the Academy was under a partial curfew because of a stalker and the potential danger of Ragnarok. Lux was worried that he had defeated the only man who wanted to fight it, but Sheris told him they still have Celis, the strongest drag knight among the third years. She will soon return from the capital, but she is a 21st century feminist who hates men. She then asked Lux to patrol the grounds at night to bait the stalker, and forced him to wear plot armor. At present, while sitting on a bench, he hears something in the woods nearby and sees a girl talking to a cat. As soon as he lets his guard down, a strange man holds a knife to his throat, but before he can fend him off, the girl from the woods pulls her sword out and steps up to defend Lux. The stalker uses a smoke bomb to run out of there, but when he throws a knife at the girl, Lux takes the hit and protects her. Afterward, she takes Lux to the infirmary to treat his wound, but Lux hesitates to take his shirt off because he doesn't want to blow his cover. He asks the girl to treat it from the back, after which he asks her why she was talking to a cat, which embarrasses her. Before he leaves, the girl introduces herself as Celis and hopes they can see each other again. The next day, Lux is preoccupied, wondering how he's going to deal with Celis as a man when Lisha asks if he's okay. He tells Lisha he's just tired, but Cru Lucifer slides in like a homewrecker and offers her throat goat 9000 to relieve his stress. This starts an argument between the two girls over who gets to taste his sausage first, and Lux is caught in the middle. That night, a hooded man visits Obliterated in a cell, and Obliterated gets excited thinking his pal has come to save him. However, the guy silently places his finger on him and writes him off the script. Afterwards, he uses a flute to summon dozens of Diablos. The next day, Lux decides to talk to Celis so they can discuss how to suppress the Ragnarok. Just then, Tilfer knocks on his door and drags him to the headmaster's office, where he notices a crowd of other students. Inside, Lisha and Celis are arguing over enrolling Lux into the academy, and when Lux enters the room, Celis thanks him for saving the academy in her absence. However, now that she is back, she says she can handle things, and there is no need for Lux to be here anymore. Lux interrupts and says he wants to help suppress the Ragnarok, but Celis tells him to stay out of the new Empire's affairs. She further says that she can handle the Ragnarok on her own, but Lux tells her she'd be dead before she can blink. Finally, R'lyeh stops the argument and suggests they settle it with a duel because throwing hands is the best solution to solve an argument. She says the duel will be held at Ray's Island in 3 days, and if Lux's strength impresses Celis, she must accept him as part of this academy. That night, Celis's loyalist Sania visits her room and thanks her for what she did today. Celis promises to take care of Lux and kick him out of the school, but after Sania leaves, Celis tells herself that this is the only way to protect both Lux and the academy. The following day, Celis and the girls arrive at the island, and even though she says they'll have a light training session, Lisha warns Lux to be prepared for the worst. That evening, Lisha is exhausted from the drills, but Lux believes Celis is amazing because she trains so hard. Crew Lucifer adds that Celis has always done more than others, even though it looks like someone spat in her coffee. When he's about to return the girl's uniform to Sheris, Sania arrives and tells Lux he's been summoned for another job. Lux follows her to a room, where he sees Celis with no plot armor, lying down on the bed for a back massage. Confused as to why she would ask for a man, Lux switches to his girl voice and starts massaging her. After he's done, Celis asks her to turn the lights on, so he quickly changes into his female attire so she doesn't find out. Once Celis sees him, she immediately lights up because she recognizes him as the girl Luno from the other day. Celis eagerly asks him if he has time to catch up, but when Lux says no, she insists he join her over their break tomorrow. When Lux hesitates, Celis gets sad, thinking he hates her, so she agrees to go with her to make her feel better. After checking Lux's black sword, she sends him on his way, but since he's in his girly attire, Sania stops him outside and asks who she is. Crew Lucifer shows up just in time to save him from getting exposed, and after Sania leaves, she tells Lux to be wary of her because she also wants him gone from the academy. Later, while Lux is sleeping in his room, he is suddenly woken up by Filthy, who asks him if he wants to hug. She remembers how she would cheer him up with an embrace, and even when Lux claims he's changed, she hugs him anyway because she believes he's still the same inside. While he's in her arms, Filthy calmly tells him that even if he loses to Celis, she will fight her on his behalf and won't let anyone throw him out of the academy. The next day, Lux meets Celis in his femboy mode, and she drags him into the supermarket to try on some new clothes. After she demonstrates that she's built like an OnlyFans model, Lux shifts into high-performance gear and drags her out of there before he causes a crime scene in his pants. Outside, Celis confides in him about her insecurities, claiming that she does not feel worthy of the roles bestowed upon her. However, Lux says she's a much more reliable and fun person than she thinks, earning him another hug. Later, as they enjoy a sweet picnic, Celis dozes off for a moment before quickly waking up, but Lux tells her to relax because it's their break time. She refuses to relax because she's the leader of the Knights, but Lux starts laughing because she's the same cutie who was talking to a cat just a few days ago. She starts yapping that she's not a loner at all, but Lux tells her he is not judging her at all. Finally, Celis admits that everyone gets her wrong all the time, and in reality, she is not a man-hater at all. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, the army general brings terrible news that he couldn't find Ragnarok. His men only found its empty shell close to the Ray's Island, where Lux and his friends are currently staying. At the island, Sania asks Celis if she will allow Lux to join them during swim classes, given how much she hates men. However, Celia says she does not hate men, but is rather too fond of them because all his teachers were strong men. She admits she doesn't know how to deal with men of her age because it makes her want to repopulate the earth, and she doesn't want to rely on them because she's the daughter of the 4 great nobles. Later, Lux arrives at the beach and is welcomed by 4 pairs of distinct watermelons with full-sized women attached to them. Lux avoids looking at them because he doesn't want to be labeled a creep, but Crew Lucifer tells her he's welcome to look because these are just swimsuits. As Filthy starts splashing water on him, Lux runs away and spots Lisha trying to wrap her belly up. She explains that her old Empire crest is visible through her swimsuit, but Lux tells her not to worry because everyone will be focused on her chug jugs instead. Soon after, Celis arrives with Sania and asks the headmaster if training was an excuse to have a vacation, but R'lyeh instead points at her cute swimsuit. Celis gets flustered and says her new friend Luno picked it for her. When Celis starts looking for Luno, the Triad squad pulls Lux aside and gives him a swimsuit so he can hang out with her. However, Lux refuses and runs out of the woods, only to bump into Celis, who gets so upset that she decides to skip the swimming practice. Lux then recalls their last hangout, where Celis admitted she needed to apologize to Lux because she learned how to wield a sword from Wade, who was Lux's grandfather. She believes Wade's death was her fault, so she wants to kick Lux out of the academy to protect him, which means she won't lose that duel. However, Lux knows he can't lose the duel either, which keeps him up at night. The next day, Professor Raygree officiates the duel, and after both sides agree to the conditions, the battle officially begins. Celis immediately calls her divine Drag Knight Lindworm to the battlefield, but Lux uses his regular Wyvering because he doesn't want the others to know he's the Black Hero, as the two lock swords. Sheris and Tilfer spot a masked person in the woods, who is proven to have sent insider information to the Heiberg Republic. This person is also responsible for the Stalker incident, and both Sheris and Tilfer know Sania is the one behind the mask. Once her identity is exposed, Sania takes the mask off and admits that her mission is to destroy the new empire. Just as she pulls her sword, a hooded man plays a flute in the distance, which allows Sania to transform into a strange drag ride. On the battlefield, Lux is getting clapped by Celis, but amid the battle, an octopus-like being springs out of the ground, which causes panic among the students. Meanwhile, Filthy is strolling through the woods alone when she suddenly collapses, but R'lyeh is there and promises that she won't let anyone hurt her again. As Lux and Celis regroup, they conclude that this monster is the half-awakened Ragnarok, so Celis decides to defeat it on her own. Without hesitation, she charges forward and strikes the Ragnarok, ending it in a single strike. However, Sania shows up right after, and the hooded man uses his flute to fully revive the Ragnarok. Sania then decides to game-end Celis, but Lux steps in the way and blocks her attack. That's when Sania tells him that Celis is the one who took his grandfather's life, hoping it will make him abandon her. She then blasts both of them, causing Celis to go unconscious. When she wakes up, she immediately apologizes to Lux about his grandfather, explaining that she had informed him of the old empire's corruption, but when he advised them to be just, they put him in jail, where he died. Not only that, but his entire family was ostracized, and it all happened because Celis brought the news to him. She believes Lux hates her now, but Lux says no and pulls out his black sword, making her realize Lux and Luno are the same person. Lux then summons the Bahamut and starts rising Celis up, promising that he doesn't hate her and will protect her at all costs. Immediately after, he turns his attention to the fully awakened Ragnarok and takes it down. Celis confronts Sania, but she hesitates to attack her, allowing her to get away. Before she leaves, she snags Ragnarok's core and picks up the hooded man, who was suspected to be Lux's brother. However, it turns out to be a woman named Hayes, who promises to revive the nightmare from 5 years ago. Hayes asks him to remember what happened on this very island back then, before making her escape, leaving Lux confused. Afterward, Lux tends to Celis's wounds, who says she is grateful he forgave her, but she's not happy about the whole Luno matter because she shows him her most embarrassing side. She also hates the fact that she's happy to be saved by him, because all this time, she wanted to be someone who needed no saving. So to make it up to her, Lux must teach her how she can understand men better, because it's about time she gets her V-card swiped. After she approves his entry into the academy, Lux advises her to remain genuine with men, just as she is now, and someone might stay the night after pumping her. Later that night, Lux tries to remember the supposed nightmare from 5 years ago, but all he sees are images of death and destruction. Just then, a giant structure emerges from the sea and catches everyone's attention. R'lyeh explains to others that this is a newly formed ruin, and the real purpose of this camp is to deal with it. 9 years ago, in the Imperial Palace, Fugal smashed a valuable statue, and while Lux wanted to be a snitch, Barth decided to blame it on the girls. He ended up placing all the blame on Filthy, but before she could receive a punishment, Lux walked in and took responsibility. Later, she thanked him for saving her, and Lux felt that she got into trouble because of him. However, she shoved a cookie in his mouth to make him feel better, and from that point on, they became friends. At present, Lux visits Filthy's room after he learned she collapsed yesterday, and she reveals she will partake in the ruin investigation. Just then, Leisha shows up and drags him to the garage and tells him that she has removed the limiters from his drag ride. However, this is only to be used in extreme cases because merely activating the no limits ability can end his life. Later, they all gather near the ruins, and R'lyeh explains that the deepest layers are now open because Ragnarok was defeated. When Leisha asks how they will enter, Ayuri explains that according to the ancient script, everyone will be drawn into the ruins along with the light. Lux asks Filthy how she's feeling, and she says she's okay, but he still wants to stay close to her in case she needs him. Ayuri walks up to him and asks him to stay close to her too, because she is also coming with them. Later, as everyone gathers at the entrance in their drag rides, R'lyeh gives Filthy one last chance to back out, but she says she is fine. Just then, the gate begins glowing, and everyone is teleported into a hall with giant pillars. While Nakuto surveys the area, Ayuri reads the script and reveals they have 11 floors to explore. Soon after, they start exploring each floor until they reach an open field with a grassy floor and lots of trees. From the looks of it, a massive war broke out in this place, and whatever was managing the ecosystem is no longer there. Since Nakuto senses no enemies nearby, Rili suggests they split up and survey the area. Lucifer, Sheris, and Lisha take the 4th floor, Tilfer, Filthy, and Rili take the 5th, and Lux is told to tackle the 6th floor with Ayuri and Nakuto. Celis eagerly asks if she can join Lux, but Ayuri tells her she is strong enough to clear a floor on their own, so she assigns Celis to the 3rd floor. Celis's hopes of getting piped are crushed, but Lux offers her to join her team halfway, which suddenly brightens up her mood. While exploring, Ayuri tells Lux to keep his junk in the trunk around Nakuto, but she says he doesn't even see her as a girl. Lux is surprised because he actually thinks Nakuto is cute, so she asks him to go into extreme detail about what he finds attractive in her. Lux hesitantly tells her that her chug jugs are the most appealing part of her, which makes Nakuto blush. Their conversation is interrupted when Nakuto spots a presence on her radar, and she reveals it's something that looks like a human. Lux immediately goes ahead and spots an unconscious girl, prompting Ayuri to call Lucifer on the spot. Being one of the ruins, Lucifer says she won't be able to protect Ayuri if a fight breaks out, so she asks Nakuto to take her away. After they leave, Lucifer tells Lux that this girl is neither a human nor an abyss before placing her finger on her cheek. The girl suddenly wakes up and starts speaking in a robotic voice. After she gets up, she fixes her voice and greets Lux and Lucifer before lying back down. She then starts yapping about repairing her instead of throwing her away, but once she realizes they don't know who she is, she gets up and introduces herself as La, the supervisor of these ruins. She further explains that she's an automaton in a human form, but when Lucifer asks her about the old eras, she says she overslept and forgot it all. She adds that many parts of the ruins have shut down, and once those are activated, she can connect to the main system and restore her records of the past. Lucifer pats her head and asks how she can help, so La tells her to find the control room and use the restore command. Later, La meets the others and is super excited because she hasn't seen anyone in a long time. Rili correctly guesses that she's a doll made from the old era tech, and while they're talking, Lux notices that something is wrong with Filthy. Before he can check up on her, Krolfisser approaches him and says something is wrong with La because she keeps referring to her as the administrator, which means there is someone who has authority over her. As Ayuri instructs everyone to head to the production area, Lux checks up on Filthy, but since she looks exhausted, he asks her to come with him. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, the nobles discuss how they will face the rebel army with a shortage of drag knights, and one of the nobles suggests using girls from the academy. They believe that apart from Celis, Lux, and Lisha are the only ones who are capable of defeating a Ragnarok. When this matter is brought to the queen, she asks for some time to think about it. Back in the ruins, Lux carries Filthy with her, and she feels like a burden because she is supposed to be helping Ayuri's team. Soon after, they arrive at the production area, a giant room with hundreds of abyss capsules attached to the walls. That's when Filthy's condition worsens, and haze comes out of nowhere. Using the flute to summon a Diablos, Lucifer learns from La that the ruin releases 3 Diablos in the state of an alert, and 2 of these monsters go outside to attack any living thing that comes into their sight. Lux is worried and asks Rili to stop the investigation, but even after seeing Filthy's condition, she orders to continue. Filthy suddenly summons her Drag Knight and zooms past them to save the others, but since she is in no condition to fight, Rili worryingly asks Lux to keep her safe. Lux then summons the Bahamut and catches up with Filthy, who says she can tell where the Diablos went due to signs. She takes Lux to the altar, which teleports them out of the ruins, and they immediately start fighting the Abyss. Amid battle, Lux spots a cathedral on top of a hill, which gives him subtle flashbacks of dead people, which are somehow related to Filthy. After destroying the Abyss, he heads straight to the cathedral and follows the stairs down to the basement. After seeing cells and some equipment, he remembers that the old empire used to experiment on humans down here, but he still can't connect how it's related to Filthy. He then spots her cowering in one of the rooms and rushes to check up on her. She tells him to leave because the Abyss is here, but Lux is confused because he already defeated it. Then all of a sudden, she pins him against the wall and starts choking him as her eyes change color. This takes him into another flashback of when Filthy was about to leave the court with her family, and she promised to make this world a safe place for her, promising that she would meet him again someday. At present, as she is choking Lux, she gains her senses for a second and collapses again, right before Haze enters the room with intent. Back in the ruins, Lisha and Lucifer beat the second Diablos, but they both agree that something about this camp feels weird. Just then, they get a call from Ayuri, who reveals her squad also bested the third Abyss, but Sheris and Tilfer took heavy hits in battle. They've also located the deepest part of the ruin, but according to La, they need a key to unlock it. In the basement, Lux asks Haze what she's after, but Haze tells him not to attack her because if she dies, Filthy will die too. She explains she's planted a Ragnarok seed inside of Filthy that follows her command, but since she is continuously refusing orders, she is facing fevers and headaches. Lux asks what command she's giving to Filthy, and Haze reveals it is to take his life. Now, Filthy's only options are to either end the person who's the closest to her heart or suffer until she dies herself. With all the power in her hand, she decides to cut a deal with Lux. She tells him Filthy will die in a few days, but she will order the Ragnarok to spare her life if Lux opens the ruin for her. Before leaving, she tells him Filthy is the key to open the deepest door, and he has only 2 days to decide. Later that night, while Filthy is resting, Lux says by her side and weighs his choices. Soon after, Filthy wakes up with no memories of what happened earlier and asks Lux to feed her with his own hands. While doing so, he notices her eyes change color and exits the room, cursing himself for not being able to protect her. He then meets up with R'lyeh, who tells her the Empire was experimenting on Filthy 5 years ago on this very island, and he helped her. However, the real Filthy died in the basement, and the one that walks amongst them today is just a time bomb who will eventually turn into an abyss. R'lyeh admits she brought them all here so she could enter the ruin and use its power to save Filthy, and she would do it even if she had to give her own life in return. Lux then remembers the time Filthy came with him to his mother's grave, and after paying her respects, she hugged him to cheer him up. Lux hugged her back and cried his eyes out, letting out all the pain he had been holding inside. The next day, Lisha tells Lux that she needs R'lyeh's permission to use the no limiter on Bahamut, and when she goes to her office, Lux hears Fugle speaking through him using his Drag Knight's comm system. He tells Lux that in order to save Filthy, he needs to destroy the flute and defeat the Ragnarok. Afterward, he heads to Filthy's room and finds her standing by the window. She says she knows about the abyss in her body, and even though she didn't want to die before because Lux was lonely, he now has many people who care for him, so she can die knowing he's not alone. However, Lux hugs her tightly and tells her she is the sole reason he has been fighting for so long, so he will do everything in his power to save her. Filthy smiles and realizes she's still the same old Lux, so she promises to wait for him. Meanwhile, Celis and Lisha visit La to inquire about the key, but she refuses to tell them. With no other choice, Lucifer uses her status as the survivor of the ruins to open the door, but when R'lyeh asks how she did it, she lies that La gave her access when they first met. As they step inside, La reveals she has finally gotten her memories back, and her task is to dispose of them without a trace because they have betrayed her master. Just then, Hayes appears out of nowhere with another hooded person and mocks them for falling for her schemes. The other person turns out to be Filthy, who is under Ragnarok's control, and Hayes uses the flute to unleash her upon them. They all work together to subdue Filthy, but she is so strong now that she takes them all out all by herself. R'lyeh advises the others to be wary because Filthy's Drag Knight suppresses the others' abilities, while Ayuri clutches the flute in her hand. As Hayes does her thing at the altar, Fugle suddenly arrives to put a stop to her schemes. Just then, Hayes hears another flute go off and realizes Ayuri has used the one in her possession to overwrite her commands, thus freeing Filthy of her grasp for now. The others tell Hayes to surrender now, but Hayes reveals she brought another Ragnarok because she knew it wouldn't be that easy. Celis and Lisha immediately target the monster, but it grows even stronger after the injuries, and it was all part of Hayes' plan. Luckily, Lux arrives to the rescue and asks Lisha to let him use the no limit, but she deems it too dangerous. However, after some pressure from Lux, she agrees to send him the disarming code. In the meantime, Lux tries to hold off the Ragnarok, but eventually gets caught, prompting Hayes to mock him for being naive. That's when Filthy drops some words of encouragement, and after the disarming code is sent, Lux taps into the no limit ability, allowing him to gain control of Bahamut's true form. With a single swing, Lux takes down the monster, and Hayes watches in disbelief. Fugle soon joins her, explaining that Lux has become so strong that not even a fully powered Ragnarok can take him down, which means it's time to skedaddle. Later, File joins a taped-up Lux in his room, explaining that she has now built a tolerance to the flute and will be able to resist it. She then places her head on his shoulder and thanks him for keeping his promise, right before giving him a platonic "I love you." A few days later, as the girls celebrate Lux's recovery, he asks R'lyeh about the island, and she says she will handle it. She then informs them that the biggest event of the year, the Foundation Festival, is starting soon, which excites everyone except Lisha. That night, Lisha is about to ask Lux something related to the festival, but Lucifer beats her to it and asks Lux if he'd like to explore her Cave of Wonders during the event. However, Cherish shoves Celis ahead, proudly announcing that she, above everyone else, has earned the right to ride Lux's Sausage Express. When others try to jump the trail, it starts an argument between the girls, which R'lyeh solves by asking him to date his top 3 picks. The next day, he notices that a lot of nobles are visiting for the festival, and Ayuri says they've come to see the all-dragon battle. It is a category in which all battle it out, and whoever wins gets first pick to survey the ruins. Ayuri also tells him that he and the Knight Squadron will be representing their country, but she knows Lux still hasn't fully recovered from his previous battle. She then warns him about the Empire's assassin blade that has recently escaped prison, and she is said to be the strongest Drag Knight of the Old Empire. Ayuri believes she will come after Lux since he destroyed the Old Empire, so she advises him to keep his black sword ready for his dates and the enemy both. Soon after, Lux shows up for his date with Celis wearing the dress that Tilfer picked for him. When he asks why she made him dress as a waiter, he says it's because he's a chick magnet, and this would make him less noticeable. After some chit-chat, he takes Celis across town, after which they rest by the fountain. While there, Celis notes how even though he's the only boy at the academy, everyone wants a taste of his hot dog, unlike her, who's always neglected like a middle child. However, she has seen how determined Lux is and wants to follow in his footsteps to become an even stronger drag knight. The two shake on a better future, but Celis ends up slipping right into Lux's arms. The next thing he knows, he's on top of her, squeezing her stress balls, only to realize they're giving him twice the anxiety. Just then, the Triad Squad shows up and finds his actions rather endearing, even though he claims it was just an accident. They apologize to Celis for the interruption because it's time for Lux's next date, so she promises to let him motorboat his face into her jugs later. Afterward, Lux changes his attire and heads to the social gathering of nobles, where he meets Crew Lucifer, who invites her to a dance. After dancing for a while, they watch the sunset from the balcony, while joking about Lux's poor dance skills. Professor also tells him that Alter Z is here today spying on them, but she believes they managed to fool her. Despite that, she wants Lux to take it one step further and kiss her, and he hesitantly agrees to her request, which makes her happy. The Triad Squad is watching from the window and concludes that it will be tough to beat Crew Lucifer. Soon after, Lux rushes to his late date with Filthy, who's got her melons poking out of the screen. As Lux compliments her dress, Riley joins the Triad Squad in spying because she is eager to see his sister get piped. Filthy takes him to the church and makes him rest on his lap, asking him to rest because he's always helping everyone. As Lux gets comfortable, she thanks him for saving her life and for seeing through her lies when she pretended to be fine. That night, after sleeping in her lap for a while, Lux runs into Lisha, who believes he did not pick her because she hasn't given her all. Instead of being angry, she asks him if he would become her knight, explaining that her royal duties would increase tenfold after graduation, and she needs a personal attendant. Lux says it might be impossible because he is still a criminal, but Lisha promises that she'll make it happen if he agrees to it. She says she has a speech at the end of the festival, and she wants to introduce him to everyone, leaving Lux to make a big decision. Unbeknownst to him, the Empire's assassin blade Yuruka is keeping a close eye on him from a distance. The next day, Lux and Yuri hang out at the clock tower, and she points out that in his current state, he can use Bahamut for only 12 minutes. She advises him to be wary of Hayes and Yuruka, but as soon as they say her name, she appears. However, instead of fighting her, she calls Lux her master, revealing that she is the servant to the former Emperor's family. Lux is still cautious and pulls out his sword, but she slowly walks up to him and tells him to whip out the other one. In her goth Moni voice, Yuruka asks him to give her any command, but before the blood leaves Lux's brain, Yuri yells at him to stop being a degenerate. For her first command, Lux asks her to come back when he is free, so Yuruka leaves immediately like an obedient servant. Later that evening, Yuruka suddenly shows up in the shower and starts using her twin flotation devices as a loofah against Lux's back. Lux is such a certified virgin that he starts screaming, and when Lisha arrives to check up on him, she gives him a good beating for getting freaky with yet another girl. Afterward, he takes a walk with Yuruka and tells her she can go free because she only signed a contract with his father, who is already dead. However, Yuruka says she vowed to serve the old empire till her dying breath, and she will continue to do so no matter what. She then asks Lux why he's not using his power to destroy this empire and build one of his own, but Lux clearly tells her he has no such intentions. The mood shifts, and suddenly, Yuruka deflects a quick attack from Celis, who tells Lux to be wary because she is dangerous. To fight her, Yuruka summons her divine ride called God's Night Sword, but Lisha and the others soon show up to keep her from harming Lux. However, they soon learn that Yuruka has the power to manipulate other drag rides, turning the tide completely in her favor. She then asks Lux to rethink his decision regarding this empire before vanishing like your dad did when you were born.
Emotional, damn it!
A few days later, Lisha is practicing her speech, but her pea-brain is unable to memorize it. Just then, Lux visits her, and she says she wants to announce that thing she told her about the other day as well, but he can take his time answering her. Meanwhile, Hayes is cooking up a plan with Yuruka, Sania, and an automaton named El Fajula. After Yuruka departs, Sania questions Hayes about her trustworthiness, and Hayes assures her that she can be trusted. Later, Lux and Yuri are secretly summoned to the Imperial Court, where Naf tells them about plans to revive the old empire. Some survivors of the rebellions are secretly plotting to overthrow the new government, and the man leading this faction is none other than Barth. Sources say that Barth will carry out his plan after the all-dragon battle, and the nobles want Lux to become their trump card. The nobles also inform them of nearly 100 abysses hiding in nearby villages, so they want Lux to destroy the fluke commanding them before the empire is turned into ruins. Naf then commands Lux to lure out all the abyss hiding nearby, but Yuri argues that he will die handling so many all by himself. However, Naf reminds him of what they did at Ray's Island and adds that if Lux does this job, everyone involved will have their charges revoked. Despite being an unfair exchange, Lux agrees to do it, so the nobles add another condition that he must win the all-dragon battle. The odds are stacked against him, but he assures Airi that he will pull through. On the way back, Airi is upset with Lux because he took such a difficult job, and he can't even use the Bahamut for more than 12 minutes. He apologizes for worrying her again and promises to be safe, so she rests her head on his shoulder the rest of the way. Later, Lux asks Lisha to make some changes to his wyvern, and she agrees to do it, wishing him her best of luck for the battle tomorrow. Lux stays in the garage while she's working, unaware that Yuruka is lurking in the background. Later, he runs into her in the courtyard, so the two decide to talk in a more discreet location. Lux then asks her again why she's upholding her contract even when the old empire is no more, and she finally reveals she made a promise to her twin brother. She explains that she was born with the ability to take lives without feeling anything, and even her own father thought she was a monster. After the old man died, she and her brother inherited the country. But unlike her, she was a clingy boy with a heart of gold. Not only did he protect his people, he protected her too and took care of his people. However, Lux remembers that the former empire destroyed her country, which must mean his father took the boy hostage and forced Yuruka to form a contract. She then reveals her brother was yeeted a long time ago, but it is her loyalty towards her twin that still binds her to the contract. This is why she wants to restore the old empire and asks Lux one last time what he plans to do with this country. Lux tries to explain why he can't repeat history, but Yuruka cuts him short and tells him to be ready after the all-dragon battle for when she takes his life. The next day, during the solo battles, the Triad squad suffers defeat early on, but Airi is confident that Celis, Filthy, and Crew Lucifer will wipe the floor with everyone in the next round. As for today, Lux manages to win his match via knockout, but Crew Lucifer believes something is up with Lux, because he usually never strikes his opponent in a peaceful duel and waits for time to run out. After his match, before Lux leaves for his other mission, he tells Airi that if he does not return for the group battles, she should tell the others what happened to him. That evening, Lisha heads into her match against a tough opponent, but as the battle reaches its peak, she suddenly loses control of her Drag Knight, which starts attacking the audience. Crew Lucifer quickly freezes her, and the match is called off, but even when Lisha pleads that she doesn't know what happened, she is arrested for endangering the civilians. Meanwhile, as Lux looks around for places where the Abyss are hiding, he is suddenly ambushed by Sania, who sends many monsters after him. However, he successfully lures them into the border where one of the nobles Begrizer is stationed with his knights. After they take the Abyss out, Begrizer thanks him for the help and tells him to recover his stamina. Meanwhile, Airi tells the girls about Lux's mission, and Celis immediately decides to go after him. However, Airi reveals they must win the group battle tomorrow, or it will all be for nothing. Crew Lucifer then adds that they must do something about the Lisha situation, and Airi believes that their own drag rides might be tampered with as well. They realize it must be Yuroka's doing because her knight's sword allows her to manipulate other drag rides. Airi then concludes the meeting by saying they must capture Yuruka and rescue Lux. Meanwhile, Lux is resting at the border camp when he suddenly hears an explosion outside. When he rushes to check, he sees that the rebel army has stormed their base, which confuses him because they were supposed to attack after the all-dragon battle. However, he quickly realizes this is an attempt to shake the army while the main troops target the city. Soon enough, all the girls gather in the courtyard where Nokuda reveals that the tournament has been suspended because the rebel army has broken through the border. As Airi prays for Lux's safety, he goes into battle alone and comes face to face with Barth, who aims to revive the old empire and become its emperor. The two engage in an intense confrontation, with Barth forcing Lux to retreat. However, the conflict is disrupted with the sudden appearance of the giant warrior, also called the Fifth Ruin, and it's operated by El Fajula from within. Lux's wyvern is not strong enough to deal with a threat of this level, so he decides to use Bahamut as his last option. While the ruin approaches the city, Lux keeps running from Barth, but no matter how hard he tries, he cannot shake him off. As Barth attacks him head-on, Lux tries to block with the barrier, but it shatters in an instant, and his arm is torn away. Barth finally realizes Lux is not using the Bahamut. Lux then activates the true form, explaining that Lisha gave him a disguise to save time. And Barth, furious at being fooled, rushes in again. This time, Lux blows through him with ease before heading straight for the academy. Meanwhile, Sania visits the cell and shows Lisha the Fifth Ruin just as Hayes orders Fajula to fire a demonstration blast. With the Empire on the verge of destruction, Sania demands that Lisha surrender the capital with her power as queen, but when she refuses, the soldiers move to diddle her and expose her crest to the Empire. Right when Lisha feels all hope fading, Lux smashes through the wall and scatters the threat. Sania flees instantly while Lisha struggles to meet Lux's eyes, ashamed that she always needs him to save her despite her royal duty. He reassures her by handing her the sword, telling her she has nothing to regret, and together they prepare to fight. Hayes and the Fifth Ruin march toward the capital, but suddenly face an attack from above as Crew Lucifer rains down ice. Hayes commands to fire at her, but Filthy lashes the giant's arm with her whips, and Lisha follows by amplifying gravity to force it down. Hayes pushes through, but Lux clasps Leisha's hand, and they combine their strength for a devastating strike that crashes the giant into the ground. Filthy drags its arm fully down, and Crew Lucifer seals it with ice. Ayuri warns them that the rebel soldiers remain, so Lux sends Crew Lucifer and Filthy to the city while he and Leisha guard the giant. Just as Leisha begins to confess how much it means to fight beside him, Lux shoves her away as a massive plasma beam slices through the capital, and Hayes steps forward to reveal her divine drag ride. While Sania breaks into the noble's chamber, Celis suddenly shows up to protect them, and she promises to finish this here. On the other hand, Leisha battles Hayes but is quickly overwhelmed as her drag ride struggles to keep up. Amid battle, Hayes notices Lux is absent, but a cannon blast from Leisha forces her attention back. As Lux looks for an entrance to the ruins, he encounters Yuruka in a field of flowers, where she declares she will side with Hayes, but Lux asks her how her brother really died. Yuruka explains that he was abandoned during a siege when both their homeland and its generals deserted him, and her loyalty is now to carry out his will. Lux challenges her belief, pointing out that Leisha also faced cruelty but chose her own path. Tired of his Takano Jutsu, she unleashes a hidden technique to strike him, yet he breaks through her focus by reminding her of the innocent girl she once was, landing a blow that leaves her stunned. He then reveals that he also wanted to save this country from corruption, and he destroyed the whole empire to do so. As Yuruka lies in the flower field, she finally understands that Lux has already done what she was about to do, but he is a living example of why destroying a country does not save it. At that moment, Fadula reawakens the giant and primes its eye as a bomb, but Yuruka sneaks in and slices the control core apart, silencing Fadula and stopping the countdown. With the giant down, Hayes goes berserk and blasts Leisha out of her ride, but Lux quickly takes her down with one powerful attack and manages to catch Leisha before she turns into spaghetti. That evening, Leisha addresses the Empire as their new queen, introducing Lux as her personal knight and revealing his true identity as the lost Akkadian prince. Though shocked, the people cheer when she explains his intentions, and after the speech ends, he thanks her for believing in him. As he vows to serve this country, he spots Fugal in the crowd below, but the guy leaves before Lux can take action against him. Afterward, Leisha nervously tells Lux they should deepen their friendship by swapping spits, but the rest of the girls, including Yuruka, all line up to ride his sausage train. In the end, Leisha holds the sword to his throat, telling him to pick one before she castrates him. Who should Lux choose as his bride? Let us know in the comments below. If you want more recaps like this, subscribe to the channel and leave your suggestions in the comments.